Anyway, I just put myself into the chat, so you probably can hear me now for the first time. Sorry about that. There was a 40 seconds of silence. My apologies. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about Lizzo's messy lawsuit. There have been some strange developments in this lawsuit, a lot of interesting, shall we say, chaos in this lawsuit. Lizzo has responded to some of the criticism, and I don't want to just talk about this topic from the position of celebrity gossip. We got enough of that. I want to elevate the conversation. I want to talk about this in a way where Black business owners can learn something from this, or those who plan to own Black businesses, or those who have children that you plan to teach how to own a Black business. As we move forward, first off, let me know if you can hear me now. Let me know if you can hear me all right. I'm here in Denmark right now. I'm doing kind of a tour of Europe. Went to Iceland. Now I'm in Denmark. I'm gonna head back home pretty soon. I want to make sure everything's going okay with this Wi-Fi. So can you guys hear me okay? And so get comfortable, because we're gonna have a conversation about this lawsuit. And my goal is to say some things that you're probably not hearing anywhere else, and lay it out in a way that provides valuable lessons for those who plan to own a Black-owned business. So get comfortable, buckle up seatbelt. We're gonna get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and just so you know, this channel is not just for Black people. We don't block anybody out. We don't discriminate. However, we need people here that can respect and appreciate intelligent Black people, because unfortunately, we live in a world where people only pay attention to Black people if they're singing, dancing, twerking, rapping, gang banging, buffooning. Give me a guess if you know what I'm talking about. Dribbling basketballs, throwing footballs, telling jokes, shaking booty, or doing all kinds of other shenanigans. Give me a guess if you know what I'm talking about, if you understand the nature of these racial stereotypes, and give me a guess if you understand how offensive that is to Black people. I think it's very important to start the conversation there, because I'm going to talk about Lizzo tonight, but I am not interested in talking about this in a way that is going to pick sides. I'm not here to talk about it in a way that is gossipy. I will give you the details of some of the allegations against Lizzo, but I'm not here to get into that, because you don't benefit from the gossip and innuendo. I'm not here to discredit Lizzo. I'm not here to discredit her accusers, because I don't care. I just honestly don't care as much about Lizzo or her accusers as I care about you, as I care about intelligent Black people. That's who I represent. I represent Black folks that you ain't got to go to school. You ain't got to have degrees or fancy degrees, none of that. You just got to value Black intelligence. If you value Black intelligence, give me a yes in the chat. That way you'll know you're in the right place. Now, as we get started on this conversation, I'd like to ask you, if you could please, very quickly, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I think my channel has been shadow banned. And that's why, we have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they'll only notify a couple hundred people when we go live. It's terrible. And we're trying to find every workaround we possibly can. So if you want to be notified when we go live, I promise the content will make your life better. Hit the notification bell. And also, another way we can stay in touch is I'm a finance professor, so I send profit alerts of stocks that I like. You can text the word stock to 31996. I sent you guys a profit alert tonight. I'll send them pretty regularly. I'm gonna try to get out to about twice a week. So text the word stock to 31996. Okay, so let's get cracking. All right, how many of you heard about the Lizzo lawsuit? Has anybody been following this at all? Anybody been paying attention? I think it's worth paying attention to, mainly because it's a great lesson in business. The Lizzo lawsuit is just a great opportunity to really understand some of the trade-offs that occur. That when everything it appears to be going right. It ain't always going right. That there's in many cases a thunderstorm waiting in the background. In business you have the knowns, you have the unknowns, and then you have the unknown unknowns. You have the things that you know about, the threats you know about, the threats you don't know about, and then the threats you don't know that you don't know about. And this is really interesting to me because when I worked on my PhD, I worked under a guy named Renee Stoltz, who he was writing a textbook on risk management, how to identify risk, how to manage risk, and so it led me to really think a lot about risk because risk kind of lives in the shadows. Now, why am I bringing up risk in the context of Lizzo? Well, Lizzo, unfortunately, is in the middle of some deep doo doo. She's in a crazy situation where they say you don't I'm not gonna cuss today, but they say you don't shit where you eat. You don't crap where you eat. Well, Lizzo, and she talks about the fact that she eats a lot. That's not my words; those are hers. Her Instagram is literally called Lizzo Be Eating. That's just I'm not fat shaming. That's just what she said. So she's eating right where she crapped, and she crapped right where she's eating, mainly because the people that are suing her right now are the people that are literally in the heart of her core audience. Like these are the people, these are the little Lizzo ride or dies. These are the people that love Lizzo. And when the people that love you the most, people that are closest to you, really turn on you, that's when the most damage can actually be done. And so I'm not really sure. I don't know how old Lizzo is. I thought she might be over the age of 30. I got kids that are in their 30s, right? So I'm in a different generation. I'm so-called OG status, and I claim that. I own that. I like being a grown-ass black man. I like having some experience. I stay in shape, I work out and everything. You got to do that. When you get in your 40s, you better work out or you'll get fat. And so anyway, if she were my daughter, I would probably have had some conversations with her about the trade-offs of engaging in what is perceived by many to be a risky lifestyle in a space where people don't really like accountability. In that space, Lizzo lives deep in the Me Too space. In the Me Too movement, it's very interesting because on one hand, it's like we demand accountability from everybody but ourselves, right? So I can accuse you of something, and if I sound convincing enough, people are going to believe me, whether there's evidence or not. And typically it is women against men. Give me a yes if you follow this. Give me a yes if you know what I'm talking about. Typically it is, the oppressed woman fighting back against these powerful and abusive men, right? Well, now there is no man to blame for this. There is no man. There is, nobody is the man now. The man is Lizzo. Lizzo's the man. Lizzo's the big fish. And in China, they have a saying that the fattest pig always gets slaughtered. And so, no pun intended, but Lizzo is the fattest pig. She's the one that is, and I don't. And again, I need to be careful because I don't want this to get into like fat jokes, But they own it. They own who they are. They own their bodies and what they believe in, and I completely respect their right to do that. Now, let me give you a little bit of the history with Lizzo really quickly. Quick recap for those of you that may or may not know. A couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, I was in the media a lot, the white media a lot. And what they tend to do when they put a black man in the white-owned media is they don't really let you talk for yourself. They don't really ask you what you think. Because again, if I were a comedian or a basketball player, then, I'd get the media attention. But because I'm a professor, they're like, well, black men, they're not professors. So we're going to pretend like people like you don't exist. Right. But if I was a gangster rapper who shot 10 black people last week, or who loves to rap about how I love being in prison and rapped about all my baby's mamas, I'd be all over the media. This is what they do to you. I'm in international space right now. And every time I hear black African-American hip hop music, it's usually stuff that's incredibly ratchet, incredibly negative. That's because they'll put the ignorance at the top and the intelligence at the bottom. That's why I advocate for intelligent black people, because intelligent black people don't get hurt. Well, I made a tweet, and I was trying to express myself in terms of saying that I don't understand why everyone is fascinated with this Lizzo trend. It wasn't meant to be an anti-Lizzo tweet. It was more so something that said, wait a minute, hold on. Sorry, I lost my page. It was like, hold on, wait a minute. Why is it that we somehow think obesity is body positivity? Give me a yes if you understand that obesity is one of the factors that kills black people the most. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know obesity is one of the gateways into what are called the four horsemen of death, which is cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and strokes. Or sorry, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's. Y'all do know that, right? That those are the four horsemen of death. And black people, that's how we get introduced to that, right? Because we have a culture that in which these companies pretty much sell you poison and they call it food. Give me a guess, you know what I'm talking about. Does anybody get what I'm saying? Um, and so here, when the headlines came out, and I'm talking about hundreds of media outlets covered my tweet about Lizzo, and I can even show you all the tweet and what I said because I still stand by it. I didn't change anything. I mean, but I did say that Lizzo, her popularity is driven by the fact that we have an obesity epidemic in America. In America, they love to feed you food that's going to make you fat and have you get diabetes and cancer. Capitalism is when it's at its worst form, it can be a big unhealthy beast because they'll sell you donuts at the front of the grocery store and diabetes medication in the back. So effectively, they create the problem just so you can pay them to fix it. And I made this remark, and then white media went berserk. They literally did what they tend to do. They tend to protect the ignorance in the black community. They will protect the ignorant to the end of time, but they will try to squash the intelligence. And so here, that's why Joe Biden would much rather, during an election cycle, interview with a rapper about black economics than to interview with a scholar. Give me a yes if you know what I'm talking about. There are scholars who are experts in black economics who could solve all these problems. Joe Biden will never talk to somebody like that. Why would you talk to him when you could talk to Cardi B? Right. So here are some of the headlines. I mean, here's one: Lizzo versus Dr. Boyce Watkins. Twitter war brews over obesity comments. Lizzo, Essence snapping their fingers. Lizzo claps back at Dr. Boyce Watkins, saying she's only popular because of obesity epidemic. NBC News. Lizzo responds to social commentator who said she owes fame to obesity epidemic in America. The Root, which is very anti-heterosexual black male. Boyce Watkins says Lizzo's popular because of her weight. Okay, that's actually that's a pretty benign, that's a pretty calm headline for The Root. The Root's been pretty nasty toward me at times. Hip Hop DX. Lizzo barks back at Boyce Watkins' obesity attack. I was attacking a black woman. Ain't that something? Did anybody ever watch the Harriet Tubman movie? Did anybody notice that in the Harriet Tubman movie, all the black men were terrible? Pretty much all the black men were terrible, and the white men were forgivable. Did anybody notice that in that movie? Me and my wife went to go see it. My wife, my wife is a therapist, and she's a full professor of social work. Shout out to intelligent black women. I married one. I'm very proud of that. And we saw this movie, and we couldn't believe what we were seeing. Literally, they in fact, not only were all the villains in the movie, and there's my wife. I just like to look at her while I talk because it makes me feel better. Get that rush of endorphins, because I just love her. But literally, not only were all the black men terrible in this movie, but they also threw in other parts of the agenda, like they kind of insinuated that Harriet Tubman might have been gay. They also had a scene where she could have, which I think she ended up having to kill a black man because the black man had killed a black woman. And then when it was her turn to shoot the white man in the ass, she dropped the gun and said, "It ain't right to enslave people." Did anybody see that? Anybody see that? Right? Now, what am I talking about? Why am I bringing this up? It's because it's all tied back into the agenda. The agenda is black man evil, white man good. Black women should join us in our feminist movement because your men are terrible. Black women need to become part of us because your men are in prison, your men beat up your women, your men are disrespectful, your men are bad, right? So when I saw these headlines with Lizzo, I said, okay, there you go. There's white people being white again, right? No disrespect to all white people. If you're white, I don't hate you. I promise you I don't hate you. If you're not a racist, if you're a good person and you want to be fair and open-minded, I love you. You're welcome to be here. I'm in Europe right now, surrounded by white people. As long as they don't mess with me, I don't mess with them. I promise you. So don't interpret black love to mean that I'm anti-white. I'm not anti-nothing. Right. So here I'm anti-ignorance. How about that? I'm anti-oppression. How about that? I'm anti-debauchery. How about that? I'm anti-broken family. Is that okay? Can anybody else join me in this anti-broken family movement? I'm anti-trauma. I don't want to see our kids get traumatized. I'm anti-poverty. I don't want to see black people run around here broke. I'm anti-ignorance. I don't want to see us walking around being the least educated group of people. So those are the things I'm anti. So can you agree with me? Give me a yes if you can, if we're okay, if we're on the same page with this. Because we're not, that's okay. can go. Because here at the end of the day, when I saw these headlines, that's what I saw. I saw uh, I saw media not trying to look at the nuances of what I had to say, not giving me the respect of a PhD. I was the only black man on the planet to get a PhD in finance during the year 2002. None of that matters. All that matters in their eyes was that I was a black man who was Revolt TV. Shame on you, Diddy, for letting this come out. He says that I was weight shaming. Lizzo fires back at Dr. Boyce Watkins weight shaming tweet. I wasn't weight shaming. I wasn't waiting. Let's see if we can find the tweet. Actually, let me see if I can find my tweet. I'm gonna look at the Hip Hop DX article. They're probably not as biased as Revolt. Let me see. Let me see here. No disrespect to Diddy, but come on, man, this is silly. All right, here we go. Here's what I said. Here's my exact quote. Can y'all see this on the screen? Give me a guess if this is popping up on your screen. And by the way, you can follow this podcast on Spotify too. You just look up my name, Boyce Watkins. You can find it on Spotify. Here's the tweet. Actually, this is on my Twitter. My Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1. I said, Lizzo is popular because there is an obesity epidemic in America. Let's start with the first sentence. How many of you agree that Americans are horrifically overweight? Let's start with that part. Let's dissect what I said about Lizzo, and let's see if I'm crazy or if I was just trying to be an asshole that day. What do y'all think? Do you think that America has an obesity epidemic? What do y'all think? Let's look at some stats. Based on the data between 2017 and 2020, 41.9% of adults in the United States are obese. Do you think that it's normal that 41.9% of the population is obese in America? Do you think that that's a problem? What do y'all think? Or was I just hating? Was I just trying to be mean that day? The same data set suggests that 19.7% of adolescents in the U.S. have obesity. So 20% of your kids are obese, and kids have high metabolism. I know kids. We got a 20-year-old who's skinny as a tree branch, and he eats like a dog. I mean, he eats anything. We bring pizza, chicken, any food you put in the fridge is going to be gone within hours if he's anywhere around. And he's not obese. So you've got an obesity problem. I'm over here in Europe where the sizes of the clothes are smaller. The portions of the food are smaller. The foods have less processing and sugar than you have in the United States. And I don't see a lot of fat people here. When I was in China, I did not see a lot of obese people in China. You have an obesity epidemic. So Lizzo's popular because there is capitalism that encourages you to kill yourself and feel good about it. They want you to eat yourself into an early grave and smile the entire time you're going down that hill of death. They want you to love that. They want you to embrace that. You're getting fat and you're dying. Congratulations. And then by the time you're 45 or 50, you get your diabetes like everybody else. And then, by the time you're 55, you're going blind. Maybe you have a stroke. Maybe you have a heart attack. Like that's what they want. Okay. And then you can pay the healthcare system to manage your illness until they finally milk you dry and make their kids rich by sucking out of them all the money out of your bank account to give you a bunch of pills. Does that sound familiar? So this is America. Welcome to America. Let me keep reading because I want to get to Lizzo's lawsuit. And I want to also say this as I'm going through this. Hit the thumbs up, by the way. This is not me attacking Lizzo. This is actually me defending Lizzo. This is not me going after a black woman. This is me standing up for a black woman. This is not me being a hater. This is me being a lover of black people and black women and health. There's nothing here. I think Lizzo is beautiful. I think Lizzo is talented. If Lizzo was my daughter, I'd say, babe, I'm really proud of you, but all money ain't good money. I really think you're great, but why can't you do like Taylor Swift? Has anybody? Let me just say this. Let's just back up a little bit because y'all know me. I had a whole list of things I was gonna address, but sometimes God sends me on a different script, and I got to follow God. I can't just follow me or follow man. But in this situation, here's what I'm thinking. Right? Let me ask y'all a question. Has anybody ever seen Taylor Swift twerking at a concert? Yes or no? Has anybody ever seen Taylor Swift made $1 billion on her tour? She makes more money than all the black girls, all the black women. Lizzo and Beyonce, I'm sure, combined on their tours can't match Taylor Swift money. Has anybody ever seen Taylor Swift twerking at a concert? Has anybody, in the lawsuit against Lizzo, and I promise you I'm gonna get to that because I think that there's a disturbing pattern here that I'm noticing. In the lawsuit against Lizzo, there was a story about one of the dancers saying that that in the tour she was forced to eat a banana coming out of another lady's vagina. Yeah, that literally that Lizzo was like, I need you. This banana is in her cooch, and I need you to eat the banana in her coochie. That I'm not kidding. That's bananas are good, but now they don't taste so good in my head because I'm just imagining having to do this, and then knowing that if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my job. That's the accusation, and I think that there are witnesses to this. Has anybody ever heard of anything like that happening at a Taylor Swift concert? Yes or no? Does Taylor Swift get on stage and bring people up and say, "Here's a banana. I'm gonna put it inside a random lady's vagina, and maybe it's a diseased vagina, just to make it interesting. And I want you to go and eat that banana out of her. You know what? And if you don't do it, you're gonna lose your job because I'm Taylor Swift and I can fire everybody up in here." Has anybody ever seen that? No, that's never happened. Let's see, Letitia's got vomit emoji. Says, "Yeah, I got a holy vomit emoji in my head because that's just nasty as hell." And that's not even the worst of the accusations. That's the crazy part. And so the thing that I'm trying to understand here, and I'm not, and it ain't just Lizzo, that has to do with it. We talked about this, right? So I'm not going to belabor this point, but sometimes I got to keep beating the dead horse. I'm not really beating the dead horse because if you beat a dead horse, he's not going to come back to life. You're just beating the dead horse. I'm going to look at the autopsy of the dead horse because spiritually, Black people, you've kind of become the dead horse. Intellectually, we've become the dead horse. I think in terms of community and our public image is the dead horse. So I'm not going to beat the dead horse. I'm going to examine the dead horse, right? So that maybe we could say the dead horse's babies and make sure that the babies don't have the same fate as the parent did. So the thing with Lizzo to me is like, I want to ask you a question, because Lizzo ain't the only one who gets raunchy on stage. Cardi B, we know Megan Thee Stallion. Now you got women that are trying to outdo them. It's become a race to the bottom where the women have become as bad as the men were, right? The men, we started it. We led our community down this horrible pipeline because we wanted those money from those record executives, and now the women are starting to behave as crazy as the men. You've got rappers out here like Suki Hana. I don't even look her up because it'll make you throw up. And who's oddly enough was taking pictures with Umar Johnson. I have no idea what that was about. I'm not judging, whatever. I don't care. And it's just kind of crazy and sad and embarrassing because you have so many Black women out here that are so talented, that can sing, that can dance, they can act, they can do all kinds of amazing things, but they will never be seen because they're not throwing coochie up on the stage and doing all kinds of shenanigans in order to get attention. So I need to ask y'all that question. Give me a yes or no. Can you name one white woman who is as popular as Beyonce? Let's say she's Beyonce level and above, who is white, who does the thing that Lizzo does. Like, who's the white Lizzo? Can anybody name the white Lizzo? A big white, a big obese woman that, will simulate sucking a penis on TikTok, that will show up to Lakers games in a thong and then start twerking when people ask her, to like tone it down in front of the children, who goes to every length to just express some of the most humiliating shenanigans imaginable and to exploit every stereotype of the Black woman known to man. Can anybody name the white Lizzo? Can anybody name, yes or no, can anybody name the white Cardi B? Who's the white Cardi B? Who's the white lady who used to be a stripper, who is now as famous as Cardi B, who, is literally every song is how wet her blankety blank is, and she'll, sell her body to you if you take her to McDonald's, whatever, and get her a value meal, whatever, right? And this does cheapen the image of the Black woman. I know we want to act like it doesn't matter, but you all obviously have not studied the World War II Holocaust, where Hitler used media to destroy the image of the Jewish people, so the people didn't care when they all got slaughtered. I need y'all to just kind of go look at some history lessons on this, because ain't a damn thing changed. Nothing's new. This is just new to us because we don't know history. So with that being said, I stand by my point that when I made those remarks about Lizzo, I wasn't attacking Lizzo. I was, if I was attacking anything or anybody, I was actually going after the record label that was exploiting Lizzo and using her as a tool to destroy the image of the Black woman in America. So here's the rest of the tweet. Let's keep going. I'm going to read to my tweet so you can see exactly what I said. None of these. Now, here's another telltale sign of the racism that occurs. Not one of these media outlets reached out to me. Hundreds of them wrote about what I said. Not one of them reached out to me and said, you know, hey, what were you trying to say? Not one of them. Not one white-owned media outlet reached out and said, "Can you explain this? We don't get this." And I remember at that time, there were a few economic consequences. I was supposed to give a speech for in Birmingham for the AG Gaston Society, and because most of their sponsors were white, which is why these are the dangers of taking money from white corporations and stuff like that. They had to cancel me because the whole narrative became angry black man attacks black woman, right, or fat shames a black woman. And if you look at the rest of the tweet, here's what else I said. Lizzo's popular because there's an obesity epidemic in America. Rather than encouraging people to do better, we are simply lying to them and telling them that they are just fine the way they are. Um, Unfortunately, many of these people are dying from diabetes and heart disease. Now, give me a yes if you agree with me that everything I said in that tweet is 100% true. And while you do that, I'd like to ask you to hit the thumbs up button, and I'm going to give you a list of the top 10 causes of death for African Americans. Okay, so give me a yes or no if you agree that everything um, on that list is true. In fact, let me see. Let me look at the top 10 causes of death for Black women. Let's be very specific. Not Hispanic, Black. Here we go. Boom. All right. Yes or no? Was I accurate, or was I just talking crazy? Was I just being an old evil patriarch? Was I being a big mean patriarch who hates black women and wants to abuse women in public and was fat shaming people? Or was I doing what I think a good daddy should do? I think your daddy would do this. He'd say, "Baby, I love you, but this ain't it. I know you got money. I know they're paying you money to show your body and to embarrass the family. But all money ain't good money." Like, that's what your daddy would do. And it's not, so it's not a coincidence that the overwhelming majority of the black community has no daddy around to really impose that authority. And that, you think that's by accident? You think the father has been removed by just by happenstance? Or do you think that was deliberate? Because if the father's not around, then you can go and you can impose your will on a community much easier, because you don't have the men there really putting their foot down. Not that the women can't do it, but I'm gonna tell you, as a black father with daughters that I love my girls. I want them to be safe. I want them to be happy. Sure, they can be free. They can be expressive as they want to be. I don't care. I'm not judging. I don't even ask what you do in the bedroom. I don't care. I don't care if you get straight. None of that stuff. I just don't want you in situations that are gonna make people think you are something that you're not. I don't want you in situations where you're gonna end up in hospice because you're dying from HIV and nobody cares. I don't want you in situations where you got the 3 baby daddies who ain't taking care of their kids, and now you're really in the struggle. I don't want you in a situation where you getting drunk at the club and just doing only God knows what and going home with stranger men and bad things happen to you. I want you safe. And the thing about it is that you need to really be thoughtful about the fact that you have a world that gets upset when black fathers stand up and say, "We just want our women safe. And I'll fight you to the end of time to protect my girls." And in fact, so look at this list. This is the top 10 leading causes of death for black people. I want you to give me a yes if you think any of these diseases are connected to obesity. Number 1 is heart disease. Do you think that a person who is obese has a higher probability of heart disease than a person who's not obese? What do y'all think? Millions of black people die from this every day. Do you think cancer is number 2? Do you think that that obesity has nothing to do with the cancer rates, or do you think that maybe obesity might be a risk factor to increase your odds of getting cancer? What do y'all think? Give me a yes or no. Number 3, it's stroke. These are things killing black women. I'm not even talking about black men. I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about black women. Sure. Diabetes. Oh, sorry. We didn't talk about stroke yet. Sorry. Do you think that obesity, give me a yes or no, do you think that obesity increases the odds of you having a stroke? Yes or no? Diabetes. Do you think that your odds of getting diabetes are higher if you're obese? What do y'all think? And then you go down the list: Alzheimer's, unintentional injuries, chronic lower respiratory disease, kidney disease, septicemia, and hypertension, many of which are directly linked to the kinds of food you eat. So what I'm trying to understand is what's the issue with what I said? Maybe it's how I said it. I don't know a nicer way to say that if y'all keep doing this, we're gonna be all be dead. I know I'm tired of my relatives all getting cancer, diabetes, heart diseases, and stroke. I don't like that. So I personally think that if you're not ready to have the hard conversations, then you're gonna end up stuck for a long time and you won't know why. You cannot let politics and economics cause you to literally give away your soul. Can we at least agree on that? Anyway, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I have a new book out. It's an Amazon bestseller. Thank you so much for supporting. It's independently funded. We have a small Black-owned business. I ship the books out of my house. My kids will ship your book to your house. You can get an autographed copy if you want. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's 10 straightforward rules I put together specifically for the Black community. I did not do this for anybody else, but if you're white and you're smart, you'll probably want to learn from this because this is better than what the Jewish community is doing. I have a PhD in this stuff. I've taught many Jewish and Asian kids and white kids and all that, and I've taught around the world, so I know a little bit about this topic. And you can get it at drboycebooks.com. If you use the code word book club, all one word, use the code word book club, you can get 30% off anything inside the store. I have another series called Black American Money. I wrote that when I was on the faculty at Syracuse University. You can feel free to take a look at that too. And also, I want to remind everybody the All Black National Convention is coming up. It's October 20th. It's going to be in Atlanta. The discount hotel rooms are running out, so you may want to go ahead and at least book your hotel. If you'd like to learn more about the convention, it's the #1 gathering on earth of intelligent Black people, and the goal is to solve problems for our community. It's also a great family reunion. You meet amazing people, and you're really going to have fun. You're going to have more fun at this convention than you've ever had at any convention before. Why? Well, because we got a special entertainment company to come in and really make sure that you have a blast. Victory Boyd and her family, that they're like the Jackson Five, except maybe even a little more talented. I'm not sure. They're right up there. I'll tell you that. And they're signed with Rock Nation, and they Victory wrote songs on Kanye West's last album, and she's also a superstar in herself. She's going to be there performing with her family, and all of y'all love them so much, and so we said let's invite them back. She's going to do songs from her new album, and the family's got new music out, so we said let's do this again. So if you want to join us at the convention, just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. I guarantee you're going to have a blast. All right, so let's get back to the topic at hand. All right, so as you hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. So Lizzo is in the middle of this lawsuit, and it's really bad. Today she finally responded. At first she wasn't saying anything, and I was curious as to when she was going to speak. I didn't know if she was going to talk sooner or later. I think that she made a statement that was pretty good. And I'm going to kind of give you some perspective on this. So I've got her Instagram up here. Give me a yes if you can see it. Okay. Let me know if you can see it. And by the way, if you're looking for me on Instagram, you guys know my big page got taken down for some reason. So I think it's because I was reading Dr. Claude Anderson books out loud in public. So I'm going to have to change that. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Dr. Boyce Finance. So if you're looking for me on the gram, there I am. All right. So here's what she said. Lizzo says, these last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually, I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous to not be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. So Lizzo laid out a statement that I don't know if she wrote it herself. I don't know if somebody else wrote it, but it looks like she is that it was well thought out. I mean, I'm analytical, so I look at every single sentence. And so that first part, sort of being open and expressing her feelings, it's been gut-wrenching, overwhelming, disappointing. She mentions the obvious that her work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned, character criticized, and she says that the allegations are unbelievable and outrageous, but I have to address them. And she says the stories are sensationalized and coming from former employees who have already admitted that they were told that their behavior was inappropriate and unprofessional. So what she's kind of saying is that it sounds like, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe at least one of the women in the lawsuit, maybe more than one, had been fired, right? Had already been fired, and so she's basically saying something and I've seen this happen a lot, and I think that this should be heard too, right? I know that because Lizzo is the big powerful woman in this he said she said situation. The truth of the matter is that we don't really know exactly who did what. We really don't. You know, I've seen this. I've had times where I had to fire somebody, and I just said I don't want anything to do with you because you're unprofessional, and or maybe you just no good at your job, or you're not working very hard, or you're being mean to the other people that we work with, and you got to go. And then what happens, unfortunately, is that if you are a big target like Lizzo is, and I'm not talking about figuratively big. I mean, she is a big girl. So let's be honest. She brags about it, but she's also a big name. And when you are a big name, you become a big target. And in fact, when I was in China and I asked the students, I said, why is it that students don't really raise their hand and answer questions that often? And one of the students said, because in China, we are taught that you should try to blend in, that you should not try to stand out. She said, Americans, you all like to stand out. She said, in China, we have saying that the fattest pig always gets slaughtered. Now, I mentioned that earlier, that when you kind of become that big target, it's easy for people to throw darts at you, right? And so with Lizzo, I think that's what she's saying. She's saying, "Hey, this is nonsense. I hooked these girls up. Now they're throwing darts at me, etc." Now, here's what's interesting to me, right? Now, if you look at some of the comments of people that were on the Instagram page, they're sort of it's a real confused energy, right? Because this is Me Too Central. This is the center, ground zero of the Me Too movement, right? Where the whole narrative is, um, victimized women sort of coming back, or standing up against powerful men, typically men or powerful entities that seek to oppress them, right? Or seek to make sure their voices aren't heard, or that we should believe all women, things like that. So here's one comment that got to the top. This is from Kiyoshi Warrior. She says, "Smoke, mirrors, and manipulation tactics on your end. I believe those girls." And then somebody else says, "Somebody cancel her. She has no respect for other people." And then this person says, Teresa Time Bomb. See, that name right there tells you she's looking for a fight. She likes to fight. This ain't it. You're coming across as defensive, and your wording absolutely makes you seem like you're trying to play victim. It also seems like you're somehow trying to justify your tyrannical behavior by saying that you have high expectations. Do better. Now, somebody else comes along and says, "You've done so much uplifting, and I appreciate you immensely." But this person got far fewer comments than the other person. Now, does that mean that the public opinion is against Lizzo? I don't know. But at the end of the day, what does tend to occur is that you have scenarios where the people who are the activists tend to be the most vocal, right? So a lot of people who may support you may say, I don't know if I really want to say your name right now because I don't want to be associated. Whereas the activists are like, yeah, we're gonna get you, right? And in fact, I don't know if you all saw that Beyonce, from a business standpoint, again, these conversations are all economic conversations, by the way. I hope you can see this, because what they're seeking to do is, in this lawsuit, they're seeking to make Lizzo pay a big dollar amount, for what they claim that she did, right? They're also seeking to really harm her reputation, which is going to cost her a lot, right? If Lizzo is not seen as the champion for the Me Too movement that she's been seen as, or the advocate for big girls, or whatever, all these other, positions in society that she's been kind of granted, well, that's going to cost her money, right? So this is all about money. This is all about money, because money is heavily linked to things like reputation and and lawsuits and things like that, right? So I can say that I personally will say I understand it from both sides. I understand what it's like to be accused of something you did not do. It's just to be honest, it's absolutely infuriating. When you've helped somebody and you've done things for them and you paid them all this money, and then you got rid of them, and now that because you got rid of them, they're going around saying, "Oh, you're a terrible person," right? And what I always say is, well, if I was so terrible all those years, why were you constantly screaming how great I was? Why were you right next to me whenever you had the opportunity to do that? But then I just learned it was par for the course. I just learned that when you get seen as a person of power, people are going to use whatever they can against you. And I've also been in the position of going after a person who was more powerful than me, right? I've been in the position where maybe there was an injustice. a lot of you have experienced injustice on the job. Maybe you've experienced sexism. Maybe you've experienced racism. Maybe you've been hit by tyrannical behavior. I understand that too. And I can think of times, for example, where I've worked with someone who was significantly more powerful than me and said, your ego is too big. You're too much of a jerk. I got to get out of here. Screw you. Right now, the difference is I can say I didn't file a lawsuit. In one particular case I'm thinking about, I worked with a very famous hip hop artist, and his ego was just out of control. He was a terrible person. And when we parted ways, I didn't feel like I had a recourse to go to court or to go to the court of public opinion and just, say, oh, let me tell you how horrible of a person he was. Because that just doesn't work for black men, right? That black men don't get that privilege. We can't go and say this person hurt our feelings, or this person fired us because I told him I wouldn't do that job. You just have to deal with it. When I was 19 and I worked at Hardee's, my manager told me to go. Somebody had gotten drunk and went into the bathroom. They took a crap and it was all over the toilet seat. And he made me go clean up this crap on the toilet seat. And I said, I don't want to do that. That's nasty. And he said, well, if you don't do it, you're fired. I said, well, I guess I'm fired then. I quit. And I wrote a long letter to my mother explaining why I wasn't going to be nobody's shit cleaner. And so that in that situation, I did not feel like I had anywhere I could go. I didn't feel like I had any place I could go to get justice. Right. So to some extent, it is good to know that there are spaces where people can get justice if they are victimized or mistreated on the job or whatever. The problem with the Lizzo thing that's interesting to me is how people firmly will state an opinion about what happened when none of these people were there, and that's where I end up upsetting some people, but some people get it, is that I don't understand how you can say she did this or didn't do that. If you say she could never have done it, well, why are you saying that? You're only saying it because she's your favorite singer. Or if you're saying she definitely did it, well, you're only saying it because maybe somebody did that to you, but that's not you. Like, you didn't. This is not your story, right? So so here, so someone else, another comment is Rustlin KD says, but is the banana part of the story true? You're only denying that you didn't fat shame anyone here. So he's basically saying, he's asking about the part about banana. Now, if you don't recall, if you weren't here when we talked about it, one of the allegations against Lizzo was that she had forced one of the employees to eat a banana that was hanging out of a woman's vagina. There was another story about another employee being asked to catch a dildo that was being launched out of somebody's coochie. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of disturbing. And I don't understand that, right? It's kind of, I don't even know how, I took physics and stuff, but I can't even visually imagine the physics behind being able to launch a dildo out of your, so that right there is like, I don't understand that, but whatever. So, so one of the things I would say, if Lizzo were my daughter, I would say, okay, look, you have kind of a wild, crazy environment here. And with that craziness is going to come some judgment. There's going to come some judgment from people who can't relate to an environment where people are launching dildos out of their vagina. They just won't. They're just going to be like, what the hell is that? Right? How many of y'all were like freaked out by that? Give me a guess if you thought that was kind of crazy when you heard that part of the story. And so one of the things I think is interesting here from a business standpoint is that I think Lizzo, at the very least, could be accused of getting a little too comfortable with this whole women's liberation thing. You are the employer. And as the employer, you're responsible by law for maintaining a safe, healthy work environment. You're responsible for, keeping things kind of cool. So if you're at the office, if you have a regular kind of business, if you're an accountant and you hear about people in the office launching plastic objects out of their private parts, you're gonna say, whoa, wait, hold on. Let's slow it down. This is not appropriate. Let's get this out of here. But when you are part of a culture, though, follow me now. I need y'all to follow me, because we talk a lot in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I talk about culture and economics. So you're part of a culture. You represent a culture where anything goes. You're representing a culture that is devoid of any accountability. And like Ladera says, thank you, Ladera. And by the way, Ran Shavat, that's a funny comment. He said, let me say, he said, Dr. Boyce, these girls are talented out here and very strong. That is so true. One time, I'm gonna digress for half a second because I want to read Ladera's comment. I went to Atlanta and I had to go to a strip club because I was the best man in a wedding or one of the groomsmen. And my job as the best man was to watch out for the groom. So I had to go wherever he went. And he decided, him and his boys decided they wanted to bring some strippers in. So I will openly state, this was years ago before I met my wife. I will say that was when I had my first lap dance. And it was also my first time in a strip club. And I remember being really intrigued by the culture, how deep the stripping culture is in Atlanta. Like that's just kind of a part of everything, right? That's and I'm gonna tell you one day, if the Me Too movement ever really reaches Atlanta, a lot of people are gonna have a lot of hard questions to answer. And especially when you look at, for example, T.I. and Tiny and what they're going through with allegations and lawsuits and people saying they were doing this and doing that. And it's a lot to account for in a world where you literally had women who sued because 20 years ago a man touched her booty, right? Literally, there were women. I think there was a lawsuit. There was a guy who got he was the public health. I think the head of public health for the entire all of New York City or something, and he lost his job because there's a lady who said in 1999 he touched my behind against my will, and then and they fired him before they even found out if he did it or not. I'm don't get me wrong. I don't believe in running around just randomly touching booties. I would never advocate for that. Keep your hands to yourself. But I think that we got to the point where the penalties just became outrageous and severe and unfair, right? I just didn't like it, right? And then also you don't even know if the person actually did it or not. So an allegation alone is enough to take you down. So what's interesting about this with Lizzo is that you're in a space where there's no accountability. There's supposed to be all this accountability against powerful people, all this accountability being held against men. But the ladies themselves who are part of the movement, they said no, anything goes. If I want to get on stage and launch a piece of plastic out of my hoo-hoo, you have no right to judge me or tell me what's appropriate and what's not. It's my body. I can do whatever I want, right? And so Lizzo being in that space thinks she's one of the girls. And that's why I want to put Ladera's comment up here. I think Lizzo got comfortable. That's my point. I think Lizzo got to the point where she didn't understand that she's the boss now. You're the leader. There is no man to blame for all the bad choices that are being made in these clubs. You're the man that they're going to blame. You are the man now. The man is now has a vagina. And so effectively, Lizzo is kind of unfortunately getting a chance to see the darker side of the monster that she's helped to create. She's literally, I'm not saying I empathize with her because I don't know what she did and what she didn't do. And I only speak of it, because again, OG status, I'm 52. I'm gonna claim that Uncle Boyce in me or Daddy Boyce, whatever. Like I would, if she was my daughter, I'd be kind of like, babe, I know you're having fun. I know y'all up on stage doing only God knows what. I'm not judging none of that. You can gain weight, sleep with women. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. But just understand that when you are blending that with a professional work environment, you're opening yourself up to liability, because a lot of times the liability you get to a point where the truth doesn't even matter anymore. That's what I'm saying. Do you understand what I mean? The truth, you get to a point where it ain't even about what really happened. It's about who tells the best story. And there are lawyers out there who know the game very well. There are lawyers out there who know how to get the victims together. And look at the women's faces. Look at how they're all looking down. They look sad. They look depressed, except her. She looks kind of a little bit too happy. He's probably not happy about that. They just look like they're very serious about the fact that they were victimized by the big evil Lizzo, which is kind of in contrast to what they look like on stage. On stage, it's all about being empowered and being open and being free and living your best life and living in your purpose and whatever. And so I would just say that, I don't know. I kind of think that this, I would say this. Here's what I'm gonna collapse it down to this, because I don't care as much about these celebrities as I care about you, right? I would say that one of the things I've had to learn in business, and it sucks to go through this, it really does. Everybody wants to be the boss. But has anybody heard that saying, like, heavy is the head that wears the crown? Anybody know what I'm talking about? You know, it's hard to wear the crown. It's so hard. There's so much on your back, so much weight, so many people you have to account for, so many people that are going to judge you, so many people you could literally. I've had, every week I literally have about 10 people that ask me for money, at least 10. So paying my own bills ain't isn't enough. Paying my wife's bills and everything, that's not enough. It's my wife, it's the kids, it's 10, 15 other people that want a favor from me. And it really is a hell of a juggling act. It's hard as shit. I'm gonna tell you all the truth. It was a skill. It's like, man, I wish I could go back in time and take a class on how to deal with this. I eventually did. Eventually I just started, reading books about it and everything. So I can handle it, right? Because again, I'm 52 and I'm not stupid. But at the same time, it's an experience. And if you're a business owner, I think you know what I'm talking about. It's an experience that very few people can really relate to, right? And it's also an experience where if you make mistakes, those mistakes can be amplified, and then it just can easily become a shit show. So some of the things you end up having to do become very unnatural for a person who authentically wants to be a good person. So you get on this elevated status and you decide, like Lizzo did, and really Tupac kind of did the same thing. You say, know what, I know I'm rich and I know I'm famous, but I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not gonna change. I'm still gonna be the same old person. So Lizzo, I think, got really comfortable with the other dancers. Like, these are my girls. Don't worry about it. That ain't Lizzo. That's just whatever her name is. I forgot what her real name is. But literally, they're just like, oh, that's just Tiffany. Whatever. I got to look up her name, but let's say Tiffany, right? That's just Tiffany. Girl, Tiffany, you my best friend. You get together, you drink together, you complain about men together, you cry together, and then suddenly people start feeling like they're your friend, like your peers. And then sometimes in business, you have somebody who is your friend who suddenly feels like, because they're your friend, they may not have to work as hard as everybody else. Or because they're your friend, you're going to understand that they can't work for an entire month but still expect to get their paycheck. Or because they're your friend, that the rules don't apply to them anymore. Her name is Melissa Jefferson. Thank you, Vic. I appreciate that. I didn't mean to call her Teresa. Let's call her Melissa, right? And so with Melissa, I think that what probably happened, I'm willing to bet you every nickel in my bank account that the women that are suing Lizzo, I bet if you go back in time, you could probably find 1,000 pictures of them together as friends. I bet you that a year ago, those women, at least two or three of those women, were telling their friends, Lizzo's awesome. She's down to earth. That's my girl. We're really friends, right? Because a lot of times the people that come back with the most vitriol are the people who were closest to you. Because the people who are not close to you, who have a distance, they tend to respect your power a lot more. They tend to see you as whatever iconic figure you're supposed to be, or they're more likely to understand that they can only do certain things, take certain liberties, because they don't know you like that. But when people really know you like that, and then and then one day they're not doing their job, at least according to Lizzo. I want to give as much respect to her side of the story as I give to everybody else's, right? So Lizzo has a story just like they do. And so maybe one day one of them doesn't do the job, because I think Lizzo said something about them drinking before they were performing and stuff like that. So she pulls the Lizzo card to say, oh, you thought we were friends. No, we're not really friends. You're fired, right? Well, then maybe you go back. You're like, oh, no, oh, no, that bit, no, that blankety blank didn't, and then you say, oh, I got dirt on you because I'm your closest friend. I know all your secrets. Like my father is a former Vietnam veteran, a police officer. He was a detective. And he used to say to me, he would say he loved Godfather movies. His favorite character was Robert De Niro. That's because he was like a black De Niro, right? And he would say, keep your enemies close and your friends closer. And I said, wait a minute, don't you mean keep your friends close and your enemies closer? He said, no, no. He said, because your friends are the ones who do you. It's not your enemies, because you keep your enemies at a distance. Your friends, you keep them close. So then, like Andre John says, you had the banana incident, right? So this lady's mad because she got fired. Maybe she did something to deserve it. Maybe not. Maybe Lizzo just fired her for no reason, right? But you're still, honestly, you're right. You can end a relationship if, as long as there's nothing contractual there. You can end a relationship because you want to end the relationship. Like if they say, hey, I know I told you I wanted to work for you for the next 5 years, but I decided I want to go do something different. Lizzo would be to be gracious and say, I wish you the very best. Good luck with your career. But, unfortunately, when it goes in the other way around, where they're dependent on her for money, Lizzo can't easily do that, right? It's just like, that's why I say, like, guys, if you get to the point where you ever get a lot of money, or you get that record deal, or the NBA contract, or that business pops off, and you've got a lot of women chasing you around, don't consider that to be a blessing. That could actually be a curse. Those women chasing you around could be a curse. And the reason is that if you are a person who thinks you can just dip your toe in a whole lot of different situations and just kind of hang out with women for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and then move on, at some point you may run into a situation where there's a woman who says, "Oh no, you don't. No, you ain't going nowhere. I gave you my good stuff. You sticking around, buddy. And if you leave, then I've given myself a license to lie on you, to destroy you in any way that I can, to tell your worst secrets, and to make you look terrible, so that if I'm going down, all of us are going down." That's almost like an emotional version of a murder suicide. Like, that's kind of what it becomes. It's like, oh, you're leaving me in the mud, my feelings are hurt. Oh, you think you're gonna go on with your life and just move on to the next one? Oh no, I'm gonna cripple you to the point where ain't nobody gonna want you, right? Give me a yes if you've seen this. There are people who think this way, right? Who just say, okay, you know what? Okay, you want to play that game? Then let me destroy you, right? So effectively, one of the things I think you have to understand is that when you get to a position where you have power, every person that you let too close in your circle has a certain degree of power over you. You literally have transferred some of your power to that person. Every woman you sleep with, lady, same thing. Every man you let in your bedroom, every close friend, confidant you take on, you're giving them a little bit of power. And you have to understand that and acknowledge that, right? Instead of thinking that I can bring you in, make you close, and then just dispose you on the street corner as if it never happened. Life don't work like that. So if you acknowledge that every person that's close to you has power, then that's when you do things like some of these other celebrities have done. There are celebrities, uh, even Bill Cosby did this. I mean, he still went down, but Bill Cosby had women he was paying off for years. He was like, I got to give her money and keep her happy so she don't go and tell all my secrets. I'm sure a lot of the celebrities do, right? And so another approach, a better approach, might be that the more you have that attention on you, the more you have to vet people that you even allow to get close to you. Just to give you a glimpse into my weirdo life, I know for a fact that there could be, for all I know, there could be government infiltration. I studied the CIA and how they've infiltrated black movements in the past, and they've infiltrated. They spent full time work infiltrating movements and organizations that have far less impact than we have right now. So I don't doubt for a second that there could be agents out there, and that don't even include things involving, whether it might be women or people wanting to be your close friend and overnight buddy and all that. And unfortunately, because of the nature of the business and the nature of the attention, I have to say, no, I can't really hang out with you like that. You can talk to that person, and then that person will talk to this person, and then this person will talk to me and tell me what that person said about their conversations with you. And maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, we might be able to have a meeting. But even at that point, if I don't really know you, I might have to be really careful about how close we're getting. It doesn't mean you're trying to be rude or distant. It means you're learning from experience, because you're thinking, again, it's very traumatic. It's very traumatic. A lot of you have gone through this. I don't know if you've ever gone through it, where you let somebody get real close and then they just turn around and just completely stab you in the back, and it hurts your feelings. It makes you very sad. It makes you angry, right? And you're like, dang it, you're kicking yourself, right? And so effectively, I will tell you, if Lizzo was my daughter, and again, I want to make this more of a business conversation. This ain't about gossiping about Lizzo's lawsuit. I don't, whatever happens is going to happen. But if Lizzo were my daughter, I would say, look, I know that you feel like the whole world wants to be your friend, and that these are all your girls, and y'all could just kick it together. But just understand that that desire to stay down to earth has put people under the earth. Like, Tupac was very down to earth. I think if Tupac had not been so down to earth, I think Tupac would be alive right now. I think Tupac, unfortunately, it seemed, again, I'm not judging, I love Pac, but it seemed like he was so very determined to not be uppity, to not become like a superstar, right? Like, I'm still one of the people, I'm still going to roam among the people. And unfortunately, all it takes is one person, one person that doesn't wish the best for you. So sometimes when you see celebrities that they can be distant, that's part of the reason why. And it's not just celebrities, there's also a lot of wealthy people. And some of y'all are rich in here. You can feel free to leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about. But my wife and I were talking about that one time when she said that one of the kids had been in this part of this group that where the parents all had a lot of money. And she said, I noticed that a lot of wealthy people talk to strangers differently than working class people. That when you're wealthy, that there's a good chance people are going to try to get something from you, and that part you can get used to, but you don't know what else might come with that. And so, and the last point I'll make on this before we get done today, and I hope this conversation is helpful to you. I hope that there's some benefit we gain from this discussion. Will Smith, who's such a smart guy. I never met Will. I'd love to talk to him. I talked to his brother Harry 2 times for 2 hours each time when I was in Hollywood, and he's just a smart guy, a good person. Will comes from a very smart family. I hated what happened with him and Chris Rock. I thought it was kind of crazy and sad. I don't want to see 50-some-year-old black men fighting each other. It's kind of it's not a good look for our community at all. But either way, but Will Smith says something that was really interesting. He was explaining to his niece what it's like to be famous. And he said some stuff that I actually understood it. I'm not as famous as Will Smith, but I can honestly say I've been to 100 cities, and in every single city, people stop me on the street. So I must be doing something. Somebody out there must be hearing what I'm saying. And and one benefit that he mentioned about being a celebrity is he said that you can give a person one compliment, and literally it'll make their whole day. Like they'll be super happy. Like they'll literally you tell them they look good in an outfit, like they'll never throw the outfit away. Or if you say, your hair is pretty, like they'll they'll never change their hair, right? And so it gives you a lot of power that can be used for a lot of good. And Will, I think, is a good guy because Will was talking about how that power can be used in a positive way. But one thing he also said, and this I think relates to Lizzo, is he said I have 8 lawyers that I keep on constant retainer just because I get sued so much. He said, just because I get sued all the time for nothing, like I have to have these lawyers on retainer. He said, so eventually, he said the solution is you have to learn how to fight off the predators without letting your heart go dark. So when you see like a celebrity or a person who is kind of well known or whatever, who seems distant or doesn't want to communicate, doesn't want to connect, I think it's probably because they've been hurt. It's probably trauma. It's probably trauma talking. And that trauma is real. I think a lot of people in the Black community, a lot of us are victims of trauma. I encourage you to understand the importance of trauma healing. Like I just don't think you realize how important that is in your journey. If you don't do that, if you don't heal from it, you're gonna always have trouble with relationships and trusting people and processing things in a certain way. And I know that was why I'm very happy to talk to my therapist. I talk to her every Thursday, and I can run through and kind of it's a safe space where I can tell her everything that's happening in my life, every feeling that I have. And I said, you're the only person on this planet I know who's legally obligated not to go tell the things that I share with you. And that's kind of where you end up. And so I encourage anybody that's looking for a space where you can just be honest and open. If you can afford it, get you some therapy sessions. That's a good way to kind of work through what you're feeling so that you can show up as a better person. Okay. So anyway, I know that I delved off into some of these emotional, psychological issues, but I think that's important because it does link back to business. Because, Lizzo, after this is said and done, she's going to have to go back to reestablishing her business and her relationship with the public and her relationship with other dancers. And I think it's going to be messy. I think that, she's going to be wiser now, instead of some of this chaos. Like, I really think that chaos at these concerts where people launching plastic objects out of their private parts, that just doesn't fit in a modern society. It does not fit in with the Me Too movement at all. It just doesn't, because all somebody has to do is say, I did this thing, and yeah, I chose to do it, but the only reason I chose to do it is because my boss made me do it. So again, that's one of my challenges for the Me Too movement, is how they seem to be advocates for accountability for everybody except for themselves. And I'd stand by that point. I'm not going to change my position on that. And I think that when what Lizzo's learning, unfortunately, is that you can go around biting other people and attacking other people all day whenever you want to, but eventually it's going to circle back to you. So I'm not going to say I support her in this lawsuit because there may be some of these allegations may be true. I just support the truth, right? So that means whatever's true and can be proven in court is going to work out in court. But I think that she's probably learned a valuable lesson in this, right? And a lot of you that are going to end up running businesses and having people that work with you and work for you. I hope that you're successful. I hope you make $1 billion. I want some black billionaires up in here. Some of your children are going to be billionaires. Give me a yes if you're educating your kids on wealth and economics. Now, one thing I encourage you to do is have your children talk to them about stories like this. Talk to them about, when you see somebody, like you see a black man that gets an important job somewhere and he gets fired from his job because he slept with a colleague. Talk to your son about that. Like, look, son, this is why you can't go around putting your blankety blank in every pretty girl that walks by. Talk to your daughters about some of this stuff, like, because they're going to run into this. Believe me, if they get to the point where they become the wealth builders that I know that they're going to be. I know some of y'all been in here for years. Some of y'all been watching since I started doing this stuff back in I started doing the financial stuff online about 07, 08. I guess I'm the OG. I'm an OG in the game, but I've been doing activism since I was 25 years old. And so those of you that have been in here for a long time and what you're doing with your kids, they can't help but to be leaders and bosses. They can't help but to be wealth builders. They can't help but to be financially successful. And one of the rules of economics and wealth building, the fourth rule, is protecting your wealth. And part of wealth protection goes beyond simply investing strategies. It goes into decision making, right? And a lot of times when I look at hip hop artists, for example, I say, wait a minute, you up here running around like a gangster, threatening to beat people up and all this other chaos that you're doing, but you're sitting on $100 million. Well, if you punch somebody, they're going to sue you, right? You do understand that, right? But because they're still programmed in this street mindset, they're thinking like a broke person. Well, then eventually they're going to end up broke again. And right now you have artists like Tory Lanez, who's sitting in prison. He could be sitting on millions, but sitting in prison. You have another artist, Young Thug, down in Atlanta, who's still on trial. I don't know the status of that, but I'm sure he's not happy where he is right now, right? And I can keep going down the list to R. Kelly and to some other, and then into Whitney Houston in terms of choices and just whoever, right? No judgment against any of these people, but I think that there's a lesson everywhere, right? God built the best university that you could ever have. Like the world is a campus, and lessons are everywhere. So what I encourage you to do, for all intelligent black people who are listening, is use this world as your campus. Look around at these stories. Watch what happened. Dissect it. Don't beat the dead horse. Study the autopsy of the dead horse so you can understand how you want to move and how your kids need to move in order to be successful. Now, Miss Prissy says, why is your voice distorted? Is my voice distorted? I'm talking right into the microphone. I hope y'all can hear me. I don't get. Do I sound real distorted? If I'm distorted, then that means I probably need to stop talking anyway. Thank you, Mrs. Prissy, for telling me that. I did not know my voice was distorted. And if I am distorted, I apologize. Maybe it's because I'm kind of holding the mic this time and kind of moving it around. So that's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm in Europe. I'm just kind of trying a different style. So anyway, guys, do me a favor. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I go live. Also, don't forget the All Black National Convention is October 20th through the 22nd in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm trying to get my buddy Killer Mike to come back out. He came to the first one and set it off, him and David Banner, and it was great. So I'm hoping I can get him to come back out. I love Killer Mike. It's one of my homeboys and one of my best buddies, an intelligent black man. I love him. And also we have a movie coming out called B1 the Movie. And remember, I told y'all we are building industry over here. We're not just talking about it. We're not just talking about what other people are messing up with or doing wrong. We talk about what we're doing right. And we've got a movie coming out called B1 the Movie, directed by Rick Mathis, starring people like Reza Islam and Queen Afua and Dr. Claude Anderson and Professor James Small and a lot of great people. So if you'd like to check out the movie, we're doing a red carpet in Atlanta on Marcus Garvey's birthday on August 17th. Every black child should know about Marcus Garvey. Don't wait for the school system to teach your kid about Garvey. You teach them. Just spend 5 minutes telling them about this great, extraordinary black man so they have some good role models other than rappers and basketball players. So if you'd like to learn more about the film or about the red carpet, I hope you'll come out. RZA's coming out. I think Les Brown's going to be there, stuff like that. Just go to b1themovie.com and you can take a look at it. And I got to go double check. I think Les might actually be in the movie too. I got to ask Rick about that. But anyway, all right. So I'm out of here, guys. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So feel free to follow me at Dr. Boyce Finance. And last but not least, if you want to make money and build wealth, I have a free text list you can get on. That's totally free. It's from the Black Business School, where we've helped over 10 million people learn to invest for the first time. Just text the word stock to 31996. If you text stock to 31996, I'll send you a weekly profit alert on stocks that I've researched that I'm going to buy for myself. I'll also send you our $5 a day investing plan that can take any family from poverty to wealth in less than a generation. I'll send you a list of AI stocks that I'm buying, a list of China stocks that I love, as well as a training I put together on how to make money without working. So feel free to text the word stock to 31996. All right, guys. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to the moderators for helping us out. God bless you. I appreciate all of you coming by. It was great to see you, and I love you, and I'll check with you guys later. Have a good night. Talk to you soon. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV.